To another video. In this one, we'll show you how to view files from Salesforce via repeated strips using the viewer in Titan Web. And there are two variations I'm going to cover here. So let's get into it. So the first one is like this. Let's say I have an account, and this account's got multiple contacts. So this one is called Phoenix Recruiters, and each contact has multiple files. To give you an example, Terry Doe here has one file. It says CV. Whereas Alicia James has 3 files in her file section. So I'm going to show you how I bring in all the contacts into a repeated strip, and then how you can click on each contact to bring all their files into a file viewer. So the first thing I want to do is set up input, which is a lookup. And the lookup, all it's going to do is really bring accounts. So that's what I'm going to do here. So let's go ahead and set this up. It's good to go, and I'm just going to call this account. Now, the next part here is the repeated strip. Now, it's very important you got your layer list out. You will need it, so get it out. This is how you get your layer list. And when you click on the strip, make sure it's clicked, and then click on the gear icon, and then make sure you check repeat like this. You know you've done it right when especially you check repeat and then there's like a repeated icon available next to the strip itself like this. So that's how you know you've done it right. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm literally going to bring in their name. So what I'll use is I'll use a text field here. I'll bring in their name, and then I'll bring in a button. And we'll play with the button in a second because it has its purpose, but for now, all I want to show you is bringing their full name, which means that you know all the contacts are coming as they are, and you can make the strip as small as big as you want. It is up to you. And right now, I'm just going to put a ghost button here to just call it download like that. Now, what I'm going to do here is write a get, and the get, it's really simple. It's going to be bring all the contacts. And I'll say up to 10, and the condition is where account ID equals my lookup. That's what I'm going to do. And in the mapping here, I'm literally going to say full name comes into full name. These are the repeated strip values, and all I'm doing is mapping the full name here. That's really all there is. And this will run after the lookup. So this will run when lookup of account is not empty. So it's actually the second one that runs, and then this one here is the first one, brings all accounts. Now I want the second one to run when the first one is not empty, so I'm going to go ahead and write a condition here, which is going to be if this is not empty, account value is not empty, then go ahead and run a get, which is my second get of like that. So now let's go and see how the strips actually work. So here I'll look up Phoenix Recruiters, which I know has multiple contacts. Click it, and voila, look at that. All of that is here. Now, what I want to do is view files for each of these strips. And I can't believe I called it download because it shouldn't be that. I'm going to call it view files. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this strip a bit bigger. So let's go and bring out my layer list here. And we're going to increase the size. So I'll make this about 600, I would say. That's good enough. So 600, and I'm going to move this here. And then in here, I'm going to bring in the file viewer. Like this. And the files that I want to view in this case are just PDF, so I'm going to set this to PDF. And then in the interactivity, I can allow them to print, download, rotate, and zoom as well. Now, it's really important that in order to view these files, I get the variable. In order to get the variable, you have to click on the strip, click on the gear icon, and create a custom variable, which is going to be basically the contact ID. So that's what I need in order to run the get. Now, when I've got the contact ID here, what I wanted to do is when I click apply and click save, and I'm going to show you an example here because I should turn on debug mode, so let me go ahead and do that. So if I look up, let's say, Phoenix recruiters, if you look in the debug there, we've got the name, that's what we want, and we've got the custom variable. Now what I want is the custom variable to be populated upon a click of a button. That's what I want. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on this button here, and we're going to do affect elements. In fact, we're not going to do that. We're going to go to the get, and we're going to do it there because it's actually a quick way of doing it. So if I go into the mapping, I know I'm already bringing full name, and then what I can do is into the custom variable which I created for the strip, which is the contact ID, which is over here, like this. I can just bring in the contact ID in here. It's actually the quicker way of doing it rather than the idea I was having. So now if you have a look, click save, click preview, and I look up again. These are my contacts, and have a look in the debug. You can see that there are their IDs for each specific one. So now all I've really got to do is go ahead and run my file viewer, basically. That's all I have to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and run a get. And the get is for files. We're going to do files. And this is going to be user action. And I want to bring up to, I don't know, let's say 10 files. And the condition is simple. First published location ID equals my variable, which is my repeated strip variable. So let's go ahead and find that. It's called contact ID. There it is. And then in the mapping, I'm going to do file viewer. Content is going to be version data. And then my file viewer type is going to be my file type. That's what that's going to be. Once I click apply, close, and then on this button, I'm going to go ahead and assign the button which is going to execute the file itself, like that get. So click apply, click save, click preview. All right, so first thing first, Phoenix recruiters, it's there. Click on view file, it's going to go ahead and run my document. Now, you may be like, well, what is it going to run all the files? Yeah, it's going to run all that files for that specific individual. So if you scroll down, you can see all the related files to Alicia here. But if I do Tom Ramirez, for example, it's going to go ahead and run it again, and it will go ahead and bring me that one specific file because Tom only has one. And there you go, you can see that. That's how that actually works. So that is number one variation, and really all I did was bring the contact ID into the custom variables, and then when I run it, I'm literally bringing files per repeated strip there to show you the files, whether it has one, whether it has multiple. So that is what we call variation number one. Now variation number two here is essentially where I bring all the files and we do the same thing. We just bring the files for the contact, all of them, into a repeated strip, and then we go ahead and run it again. So let me show you how that works. I'm going to delete this completely because I always like to do this from scratch. So let's say we go ahead and create a new project, and the project is going to be files from contact. And that's what we're going to do. So in the first instance here, I'm literally just going to set up my lookup, and my lookup is going to be contact. And just to sort of give you the idea what I'm doing is, let's say Alicia here, I'm just going to bring Alicia in a lookup, and from the lookup into the strip, repeated that is, I'm going to bring all the files, and then I'm going to view each one. So we'll go ahead and choose contact like this. That's good to go. Good to go. Next up is the strip. Again, I will really stress this to you guys. It's very important that you get your layer list out and make sure that the strip is selected when you do repeat, and then make sure there's the repeat icon. Now the custom variable I want to set here is just going to be the content version ID. That's the variable set for this one. And then I'm going to bring in, let's say, a text field, which is just going to be the file name. And then I'm going to bring a button, which is going to be used to sort of view the file. View file. All right, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the repeat is working. So we're going to set up a get. So this is going to be my first get. First get, bring contact. And then we add a new one. This is going to bring files. Second get, bring files to contact. And this is going to be a user action. We want to bring in multiple files up to 10, and we want to say first published location ID equals my lookup value. And there are a few things I want to map. So the first thing I want to map is the file name. And then the next thing I want to map is the content version ID directly into the strip variable itself. So once that is done, click apply, close, and then make sure this runs when this is not empty. So I'm going to say when this is not empty, then go ahead and run a Salesforce action where it brings the files like this. So I click save, and let's switch on debug mode so I can show you exactly how everything works here. Click save, click preview, and let's do Alicia. All right, so you can see we've got the files for Alicia, at least 1, 2, 3 files. And if you look at the debug mode here, you can see all the files are coming, but this is really the important part. These are the content version ID that I'm bringing back for each file. And this is what I'm going to use to trigger the file viewer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring up my file viewer. So same thing, I'm going to set it to PDF because I'm bringing PDF, and I'm going to check all of these. And then I'll make it a little bit bigger. Now what I want it to do, because everything is set up, it's essentially going to run it off this button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Salesforce action, and this one is going to be 3. Use this to view files. And I'm going to say files. In this case, it doesn't matter because I'm bringing each file anyway, so it's definitely 1 first record. And condition is going to be content version ID equals my variable content version ID. And then in the mapping, all I'm doing is file name is, the file viewer type is going to be file type. And then in the file content is going to be version data. And then once this is done, we just simply assign this action to run over here like this, and we're pretty much good to go. So if I click save, click preview, let's go and look it up. So here we go, Alicia. These are all her files. If I reference it back to Salesforce, these are all the files here. And if I head back in here now, and then I click view file, not this one, it's only this one. If I click view file, it's going to go ahead and run my document load, and it's going to show me just that specific file here. And then if I want to look at the second file, I can click on this one. It will now go ahead and show me the second file from Salesforce directly into the file viewer here. And then finally, for the third file, you can do the same thing, and this is a 3-page file, and you'll be able to see how it all works. So these are the 2 variations I've covered for you. Hopefully they'll help you immensely in setting this up, but that's how it all works.